WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just, you know, it's obviously...
The WNBA just hit a crisis point nobody saw coming. And for once, the chaos isn't about a buzzer beater or a championship run. It's about power. Raw, unfiltered power. Reports are flooding in that Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying rookie the league has ever seen, just walked away from a deal worth close to $20 million. Let that sink in for a second. $20 million. Turned down. Rejected. And according to inside sources, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is absolutely losing it behind closed doors. This isn't just a contract dispute. Basketball to spend their off-seasons grinding it out in Europe, Russia, China, anywhere that would pay them what they were actually worth. These women would fly halfway around the world, risk their bodies in unfamiliar gyms, and sacrifice time with their families just to make ends meet. The league knew this. They counted on it. That desperation, that financial need, it kept the machine running smoothly. Players didn't have options, so they took what they were given and smiled for the cameras. But then Caitlin Clark showed up, and everything changed. When Clark entered the WNBA, she didn't come in like a typical rookie, wide-eyed and grateful just to have a roster spot. She came in like a mogul. She already had her Nike deal locked in, $28 million over 8 years, complete with a signature shoe line and performance bonuses that could push that number even higher. For context, that's more money annually than most WNBA veterans will see in their entire careers. So when the league and its partners came knocking with what they thought was an irresistible offer, something that would make any athlete weak in the knees, Clark did the unthinkable. She said no. And that no wasn't quiet or apologetic. It was loud, deliberate, and earth-shattering. The offer in question came from Unrivaled, a brand-new 3-on-3 league founded by WNBA stars Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. The concept was brilliant on paper. Create a domestic off-season league that pays players enough to stay home, keep them safe from overseas injuries, and build something and a salary that would dwarf anything women's basketball has ever seen. Estimates put the total value somewhere between $10 and $20 million over the life of the deal. They offered her everything but the keys to the building, fully expecting her to jump at the chance. After all, who in their right mind turns down generational wealth? But Clark's camp didn't jump. They didn't even flinch. Instead, there was silence. That silence stretched on for days, then weeks, and the longer it went, the louder it became. Because by not committing, by not giving them the answer they desperately needed, Clark stripped Unrivaled of its most valuable marketing asset. Without her name attached, the league is just another collection of talented players. With her, it's a cultural phenomenon. Her rejection proved something the WNBA never wanted to admit. Caitlin Clark doesn't need them. She doesn't need the extra leagues, the extra games, or the extra exposure. Her brand is strong enough to stand on its own. But here's the twist. Unrivaled needs her to survive. The investors who poured money into that venture did so with the assumption that Clark would be the face of it. Now, those same investors are sweating, wondering if they just bet on the wrong horse. So why is Commissioner Cathy Engelbert so furious about a deal that technically involves a completely different league? Because in the world of modern sports, nothing exists in a vacuum. Everything is connected, and Clark's decision to sit out Unrivaled has massive ripple effects for the WNBA itself. Just months ago, Engelbert stood in front of cameras and announced a historic media rights deal, $2.2 billion over 11 years. It was a number that made headlines, a number that was supposed to signal the WNBA had finally arrived. But let's be brutally honest, hey. That valuation doesn't exist without Caitlin Clark. The networks, ESPN, Amazon, NBC, they didn't pay that kind of money for the same old product. They paid it because they expect to see number 22 on their screens as much as humanly possible. They want her playing in the regular season, the playoffs, the All-Star game, and yes, even in off-season exhibitions. The entire growth strategy of the WNBA is built around maximizing Clark's visibility, keeping her in the news cycle 12 months a year. If Clark decides she's going to take 4 months off to rest, recover, and live her life, that strategy crumbles. The league already saw what happens when she's not around. During the Olympic break, when Clark wasn't playing, the conversation around the WNBA noticeably dipped. Social media chatter slowed down. Ratings dropped. The momentum stalled. And that terrified the front office, because the commissioner knows that the media partners who just signed that massive deal want a return on their investment. A rested, reclusive Caitlin Clark might be great for her long-term health, but it's a nightmare for a league that needs constant content, constant buzz, constant engagement. Engelbert is under immense pressure to deliver ratings, and Clark's refusal to play ball, literally and figuratively, is throwing a wrench into everything. Now, to really understand why Clark has the confidence to walk away from life-changing money, you have to look at her bank account. That $28 million Nike deal isn't just a contract. It's freedom. It's what people in the corporate world call forget-you money, the kind of money that completely changes the power dynamic. Most WNBA rookies come into the league living paycheck to paycheck, or at best, contract to contract. They have to say yes to every sponsorship opportunity, every media appearance, every secondary league, because they need the income. But Clark entered the WNBA as the CEO of her own empire. Her official WNBA salary is $76,000, which sounds decent until you realize that's basically gas money for someone pulling in millions annually from endorsements. It's a rounding error, and because she's already financially set for life, the WNBA and its partner leagues can't use money as a leash. They can't dangle a bonus in front of her to get her to do a media tour. They can't promise her a house if she plays in their offseason league. Clark can buy the whole neighborhood without their help. This financial independence is what frustrates the establishment the most. For years, the WNBA has relied on economic desperation to control its players. Do this, get paid. Play here, secure your future. But with Clark, that leverage doesn't exist. She makes decisions based purely on what she wants, not what she needs. And right now, it seems pretty clear what she wants, to not be owned by the system. But there's an even darker, more personal reason why Clark might be rejecting these offers to play year-round. Her rookie season wasn't just physically demanding. It was brutal. We're not talking about the normal adjustment period that every pro athlete goes through. We're talking about targeted violence. Kennedy Carter's blindside hip check that sent Clark sprawling. The constant physicality from Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky that went beyond competitive play and crossed into something uglier. Clark took hit after hit, game after game, and the league did almost nothing about it. Fans were screaming for suspensions. Analysts were calling for the league to protect its biggest asset. But Commissioner Engelbert and the officials largely let it slide, brushing it off as welcome to the league moments, as if intentional non-basketball plays were just part of paying your dues. That sent a clear message to Clark: you're on your own. The league isn't going to protect you. They are going to let you get roughed up, let you take the hits, all while profiting off the attention those controversial moments generate. So why would she sign up for more of that? Why would she voluntarily jump into Unrivaled or any other off-season league where she'd be facing some of those same players who've been headhunting her for months? By rejecting the deal, Clark is prioritizing her own physical preservation. She's letting her body heal from a season where she played more minutes and absorbed more punishment than almost anyone else in the league. It's a subtle but powerful indictment of the WNBA's failure to protect her. If they won't keep her safe, she'll keep herself safe by staying home. And the ripple effects of this decision are already being felt across the league. Imagine being a WNBA veteran who spent a decade carrying the league, winning MVPs, championships, putting in the work, and never seeing a paycheck bigger than $250,000. Then this rookie, barely a year into her career, casually turns down tens of millions. It creates this strange cocktail of respect and resentment. There have been whispers all season about a mean girl's energy directed at Clark, led by veterans who feel like she hasn't earned her place, that she's benefiting from hype rather than merit. Seeing her reject the Unrivaled deal, a league founded by their peers Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, probably feels like a slap in the face. Like she's not showing solidarity with the sisterhood. But here's the thing. Those same veterans need Unrivaled to succeed because it boosts their own earning potential. If Clark doesn't play, the league makes less money, which means smaller contracts for everyone else. By opting out, Clark is inadvertently messing with her rivals' pockets, and that's only going to fuel more animosity. It's a vicious cycle. The veterans targeted her because of all the attention she was getting. Now she's pulling back from their business ventures because of that targeting, which costs them money, which makes them resent her even more. The commissioner sees this toxicity brewing and knows it's a ticking time bomb for the league's image. There's a corporate term that perfectly describes what Clark is doing right now: quiet quitting. In the business world, it means doing exactly what your job description requires and nothing more. No going above and beyond. No extra hours. No voluntary overtime. And that's exactly what Caitlin Clark is doing to the WNBA. She shows up, drops 20 points and 10 assists, fulfills her mandatory media obligations, and then she leaves. By rejecting the extra deals, the offseason hype, the expanded roles, she's drawing a hard boundary. And this terrifies the league because their entire business model is built on players being evangelists for the game. The WNBA has historically had a tiny marketing budget, so they've relied on players to constantly promote the league, to be out there stirring up buzz. But Clark doesn't need to evangelize. She is the gospel. People tune in specifically to watch her. This quiet quitting approach is a power play, and it's brilliant. It forces the league to come to her. If they want her to do more, they can't just throw money at the problem. They have to offer something else. Better travel conditions. Charter flights, which have been a massive point of contention. Better security. Better officiating that actually protects star players from cheap shots. Clark is using her silence, her absence, as a negotiating tool. She's forcing the WNBA to upgrade its entire infrastructure if they want to keep their biggest star engaged. The Unrivaled situation is the perfect microcosm of this larger power struggle. The league was founded with good intentions to solve the overseas problem and keep WNBA talent stateside during the offseason. They gathered investors and promised high salaries, but every single one of those investors likely put their money in with the assumption that Caitlin Clark would be the face of the league. When Clark says no, she's not just declining to play basketball. She's destabilizing the entire valuation of that venture. It puts Stewart and Collier in an impossible position. They have to launch their league, potentially without the biggest draw in women's sports, and that's a humiliating blow to the establishment stars who assumed they could simply summon Clark and she'd appear. This whole situation also highlights a cultural divide that's been simmering beneath the surface. There's the Yukon Diana Taurasi legacy group, the old guard who've been the face of the WNBA for years. And then there's Caitlin Clark, who represents something different. She didn't go to Yukon. She's not part of the family. By staying independent, by refusing to fall in line, she remains an outsider, and that makes her unpredictable. The WNBA hates unpredictability. They want a controlled narrative, a script they can follow. Clark is rewriting that script in real time. We also can't ignore the context of Commissioner Engelbert's recent public failures. Her disastrous interview on CNBC, where she completely fumbled the opportunity to condemn the racism and vitriol being directed at Clark, alienated a huge chunk of the fan base. And it likely alienated Clark herself. Imagine your boss going on national television and refusing to defend you against hate speech, all because she wants to preserve some manufactured rivalry narrative for ratings. That moment broke whatever trust might have existed. So why would Clark do Engelbert any favors now? Why would she sign deals that help the league's partners when the league's own leader clearly views her as nothing more than a cog in the revenue machine? The rejection of this $20 million deal can be seen as a direct response to that lack of leadership. It's a vote of no confidence. Critics are already saying Clark is making a mistake, that she needs to strike while the iron is hot, capitalize on her moment. But Clark's team understands something the WNBA doesn't. Burnout is real. We've seen it happen in other sports. Young stars push too hard, too fast, and they flame out. By turning down the money to rest, Clark is investing in longevity. She wants to play for 15 years, not 5. And the physical reality is undeniable. Between the WNBA schedule and the intense NCAA tournament run she just finished, Clark has been playing high-intensity basketball nonstop for 18 months. Her legs are tired. Her mind is tired. The league's furious reaction is short-sighted. They want the quick cash grab of having her play right now. But Clark is playing the long game. If she gets injured in some meaningless 3-on-3 game in January, she doesn't just lose a season. She loses her entire trajectory. So where does this leave everyone? The commissioner is fuming. The veterans are side-eyeing. The investors are panicking. But Caitlin Clark, she's completely unbothered. This standoff is the defining story of the offseason, and it proves that the era of the WNBA player being a pawn is officially over. If the league wants to fix this, they can't just throw more money at it. They have to fix the culture. They have to address the physical targeting, the travel nightmares, the media toxicity. They have to treat Clark not as a cash cow, but as a partner. And until they do that, she's got 28 million reasons to stay home and perfect her step-back 3 in a private gym. The rejection of this deal isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where the talent holds all the leverage. And for a league that's been stuck in its ways for nearly 3 decades, that's a terrifying reality to wake up to. They weren't ready for Caitlin Clark. They weren't ready for the attention, the scrutiny, the drama. And they certainly weren't ready for a rookie who doesn't need their money. Commissioner Engelbert can hold all the meetings she wants, call all the sponsors, panic about quarterly projections. But she cannot force Caitlin Clark to sign on any dotted line. For the first time in WNBA history, the biggest star is bigger than the league itself. Clark exposed the cracks in the foundation simply by standing still. She walked away from $20 million and bought herself something infinitely more valuable, freedom. And that's exactly why the WNBA is terrified. Because a player you can't buy is a player you can't control. And if they can't control Caitlin Clark, they have to wonder what she's going to do next. Whatever it is, you can bet the entire world will be watching. Whether the commissioner likes it or not.